Okay, good evening. Before I get started, the Village of Anmore would like to open our meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. It'd be the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we would like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many tutorial keepers of these lands and waters around us since time immemorial. Call the meeting to order. Can I get someone to move the recommendation of the agenda as circulated? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Public input. Matters here raised here for Council's consideration should be constructively focused on agenda items only. Please limit comments to a 2 minutes time limit and save any questions for later on. Any public input? Okay. Minutes. We have minutes of the regular council meeting held on September 16th, 2025. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved. And second. All those in any conversation? Sorry. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from the minutes of September 16th? Nope. We have a consent agenda. Would anybody like to pull anything off of the consent agenda? No? Could I get someone to move the consent agenda? And seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay. Legislative reports. We're on to the official community plan legislative housekeeping amendments. Report dated October 3rd, 2025 from our planning consultant is attached. Mr. Savoy, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So I don't have a presentation prepared for tonight, but essentially what the report tries to outline is that, as Council knows, the province made a number of legislative changes in 2023. The main one regarding this report is Bill 44, which was really intended to increase the amount of ground-oriented housing in municipalities. Anmore has actually done a number of things already in terms of your housing needs assessment that you accepted, the references and the changes regarding secondary suites in your zoning bylaw, that's been completed. But there are a few things still to be completed based on provincial deadlines, which are January 1st, 2025, and December 2025. And these are related to the housing needs. You have to adjust your OCP to sort of match your, I guess, demonstrate that you can actually satisfy the housing needs assessment. And then with that, the zoning bylaw. As well, Metro 2050 was adopted in 2023, and legislation requires that every municipality, and I could say that not many have done it.
Nor will they be done, I'm hearing, by the end of the year.
I know. So what it says essentially is there's a new growth strategy, and you know this, Mr. Mayor, is that all the municipalities adjust your regional context statement, and so you're consistent with the new strategy. And as you mentioned, there's only one out of all the municipalities that actually completed it, and it looks like, based on correspondence with Josh, is that most will be late in 2026. Right. So I'm happy to answer some questions. The process is essentially a very basic process, not involving a lot of consultation, because it's not intended to introduce a lot of new things to the community. It's really taking the housing needs assessment that Council's already received, demonstrating how that actually fits into your OCP, and demonstrates how you're going to essentially meet those targets, and then adjusting everything accordingly. So what this contemplates is consultation, but more information, because it's not intended to be a full OCP process. And what I mentioned in the report is your OCP does need to be updated at some point, and I know Council knows that, in a substantive way, so you can sort of modernize it and bring it back in. There's a number of things out of date since the adoption of the bylaw. But so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. The process is intended to take probably until about March, and that's just probably a little bit conservative, but I want to make sure we get it done in time. And then, of course, Metro gets it, and they can keep it for 120 days before they process it.
Yeah. Any questions from Council? Council Weber.
So basically, this is legislatively required what we need to do for our OCP. We do not have to do a whole OCP amendment. We can wait a bit on that.
That's right. So this just talks about the absolute necessity that you have to do based on, well, that you're being asked to do based on the deadlines.
Okay.
So it'd be tested if, what happens if you don't do it? Don't know.
I mean, personally, I think the next OCP should be by the next council. I think we'd be rushing it, you know, going into an election year and stuff, and I think that just makes sense to me.
Any other? Councillor Cryer.
Thank you for that. I want to say that Victoria approved theirs last week, so there's two out of the entire province. And my other comment was, I forgot.
Okay. It'll come back to you.
Yes, it will. Thanks.
Councillor Richardson.
I thought what you outlaid was just fine, but I am concerned with, because we just went through the Icona thing, where the public may get upset. And I thought pretty much everything is minor, except when it comes to the regional context statement. Like if that slips a little bit one way or the other, I think you actually need consultation on that, not just information pushing. So that would be my only concern.
Maybe I could respond.
Yeah.
The art, and I agree 100%. It's funny, I started my career in 1996 actually doing a regional context statement. It took me an entire year to do that one thing with a lot of consultation. Council was sick and tired of it by the end, but it was the first one that we did. I think in this case, what we're trying to do with the RCS update is demonstrate how your existing OCP complies with the new rules, not introducing anything new into the RCS. But with that said, there will be a couple things you probably should change in the OCP, like in terms of the housing needs assessment and number of units and that kind of stuff. That would reflect, so that would be the change. But the idea would be there's no intention to create a new policy direction for council in a short amount of time. So I totally agree with everything you just said.
Councillor Cryer.
Take two. I agree with Councillor Weberink. I think it's really important to get these done to meet legislation as well as the RGS. And then I think it's best to wait until the next council comes up, get it done.
Good. Just a few comments. I guess I was the only one, I think, at this table anyway, that was around when the original OCP was written in 2014. And, you know, I've really struggled in regards to the way it's being interpreted now in some aspects, and a lot of it is on verbiage. I don't believe some of it was the intent of the initial one, and that. But anyway, I had hoped that we would have been able to do a full OCP with. There was quite a bit of public. People reached out to me and said, "Well, why, John? Why hasn't the OCP been done in so long?" Well, I remind them that we went through a period of COVID of 3 or 4 years where we were just trying to basically operate with and hold meetings. We couldn't meet in public, and that because the OCP entails a lot of public engagement. And I noticed on your report on page 33, it actually says a comprehensive OCP process could take up to 2.5+ years. And it also, a lot of people don't realize how long that does take. And they also are aware of the cost entailed in that. A lot of smaller communities actually have to start putting budgeting for that 2 or 3 years ahead of time because it's upwards of $300,000–400,000 now. It's not an easy task to do. There was never a time where we had a mandate of 5 years, which people seem to think that is inaccurate. And what the province is saying now that they should be updated every 5 years. But I can tell you, you know, we had 2 updates on our OCP, which was one was the Anmore Green Estates, which was to turn a portion of the village into an urban designation because of the province. And the other one was infill. And neither of those times was there any conversation going on whatsoever that anything should be added to the OCP. People were quite comfortable with it, with what it was there. But I do agree it needs to be updated. Again, I wish, I'd hoped that we would have been able to do it, you know, in the remainder of our term, especially now that we have, you know, the Anmore South thing off of our books and stuff like that. But anyway, I appreciate the work that's been done. I think I am hearing from a lot of my colleagues in the Metro Vancouver region that it will not be done by the end of the year, and but it is good that we get it there. Ours is fairly minimal, a lot of housekeeping action and stuff like that, but it'll be good. And then hopefully it'll set us up well, and we start budgeting for a complete OCP process, which should entail a ton of public engagement, which I'm looking forward to. So with that being said, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Savoy. Okay, we'll now move on to 9B, 1472 Crystal Creek Drive Development Variance Permit, DVP 2025-05. Report dated October 3rd from Mr. Joseph, our planner, is attached. Mr. Joseph.
Thank you, Mayor Pugin. So I just wanted to actually highlight a quick error in the report. So under, let's see what farm the page is here. Under page 36 of the package, it says 2.03 meters from the property line there for the Board of Variance. It should be 2.3 meters.
2.3?
2.3, yeah.
On page 36, right there, Paul, right page, you got it there, where it says 2.3.
36, kind of center of page there.
It should be 2.3. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, so the purpose of this report is to seek council's authorization for staff to issue notice to affected properties regarding council's intent to consider a development variance permit, DVP 2025-05, for the proposed variance to reduce the required rear yard setback for accessory building structures from 7.6 meters to 2.06 meters to allow for the construction of a new deck and deck cover at 1472 Crystal Creek Drive. So the subject property is about 1 acre in size and located in RS1 zone. The lot slopes downward from north to south and is separated from an uphill neighboring property by a large retaining wall and mature hedges. Roughly half of the lot is constrained by a riparian area, along with a protection covenant, which limits the development of that portion of the site, as well as a septic field that is located on the eastern corner of the rear yard. So in May 2025, a stop work order was issued after a deck began reconstruction without permits and was encroaching onto the required rear yard setback. The applicant has removed the previously constructed deck and cover and is now proposing to rebuild the deck and add a cover roughly in the same location. The RS1 zone requires a rear yard setback of 7.6 meters, and the variance requested is for 2.06 meters from the property line. In 2016, the property owners at the time received approval from the Board of Variance to allow a setback of approximately 2.3 meters for the proposed deck and cover. However, staff note that the previously constructed deck was actually built 2 meters from the property line, not 2.3 as approved. The Board of Variance approval was based on a demonstrated hardship associated with limited space due to the irregular lot configuration and rear lot line relative to the large retaining wall supporting the neighboring property, along with riparian covenant areas and the placement of the septic field. The deck cover was approved to permit the enjoyment of the deck space in privacy from the lot that's perched to the north and over the subject property, and to limit the visually unappealing exposure to large lock block retaining walls along the rear property line. Staff determined that the property is heavily screened by hedges and boulder retaining wall, which provides significant visual separation from the adjacent homes. The proposed variance maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw for the permitted use of the rear yard while still ensuring privacy and minimal visual impacts to neighboring property, as adjacent property is significantly uphill from the subject lot. So given the site's physical constraints, the presence of previously approved deck in roughly the same location, and the limited impact to adjacent properties, or the streetscape, staff support the requested variance to allow the reduced rear yard setback for the proposed deck and cover. So the recommendation is that staff be authorized to issue notice of council's consideration of DVP 2025-05 at a future meeting. Thank you.
Good. Could I get someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. Open up for discussion. Councillor Richardson.
Like, I'm okay with it, like, especially the deck aspect, because the deck could actually be a patio, and I don't think it'd be much different. The concern is the roof. And it says covered deck, but it doesn't say not enclosed covered deck. Can this turn into an enclosed space and fundamentally, essentially expanding the house to the, property line? And again, you said it was 2.3, but on the drawing it's 2.06. Was that another mistake? Like, which one is it? Is it 2.3 or 2.06?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll just address the first one. So the building permit right now that's submitted is for a deck pergola cover.
Yeah.
And the development variance permit would basically specify what kind of development would take place, so it would preclude any sort of addition, which would be a primary
So they couldn't
use.
enclose it in?
No, that wouldn't be covered under the DVP. Secondly, you're looking at a survey, so that's the actual deck that was constructed. However, the Board of Variance did approve at 2.3.
Councillor Webber.
Yeah, I'm okay with rebuilding what was already built and approved, especially if they're going to adjust it to the proper setback that was approved as part of the variance. I guess I have the same concerns as Councillor Richardson about now we're adding a roof to it, which kind of makes it look like a house, which I don't know where I stand on it just yet, but that would be my only concern, that this could be enclosed and become a room with a very minimal setback from the neighbor's house. So those are my concerns.
Councillor Cryer.
Thank you. I'm fine with this. I think, Councillor Richardson, you had questioned, and I guess you did too, Councillor Weberink, enclosing it, but it does say on the plans that it's a pergola, and I see that the plans are drawn up by Suncoast Enclosures. Don't they do the retractable screens? But maybe I'm mixed up on that, but
So through the chair, I'll just kind of touch upon it. So staff can draft within the DVP conditions that, obviously it precludes any sort of addition or enclosure. So to keep with the site, we can attach the actual drawings that are submitted to the development permit, or building permit, sorry, to be attached with the conditions of the DVP.
Okay.
thank you.
I got a couple questions. This lot and the house layout, you could perceive from looking at the layout on page 36 that this could be a side lot in some aspects, just the shape of the property. So I'm not, I'm looking forward to going through this process and seeing what the neighbor has to say. I do want more specifics as what exactly is being built there. I would have absolutely no problem if it was just a deck per se, but a pergola to me has an open just beams above it, where if you're now talking it's going to be a full roof, that is a little bit different. I think that should be described very clearly when the letters get sent out to the neighbors to ask their opinion on it. And the other thing, the last question I had is, in your report, you say it was based on a demonstrated hardship. So please, can you define what a demonstrated hardship is in this case?
Well, that determination was determined by the Board of Variance. So they've based it on a demonstrated hardship, which just gave reason to approve the Board of Variance approval for the deck and cover. And the hardship that was outlined was that there is a kind of a large retaining wall that kind of towers over the area, casting shadow. It's an unappealing kind of structure to look at from the enjoyment of your rear yard. So the deck cover would kind of cut off some of that visual aspect that was unappealing, as well as kind of maintain some deck space. But that's just the reasoning that was in the Board of Variance approval.
Yeah, I believe, though, there is better definitions for hardships now, more defined definitions of hardships when something comes like that, like the fact that we need to put in a wheelchair ramp or those sorts of things, genuine hardships. I don't see anything aesthetic being a hardship.
Yeah, so through the chair, this is a development variance permit right now.
Right.
I'm just relaying historical context that it was relayed to be a hardship, and it was determined to be a hardship by the Board of Variance at the time. Whether it is in fact or not a hardship could be debated. But
Okay. I'm certainly looking forward to hearing what the neighbors have to say, and also defining, as I think all accounts, exactly what is being built there, or proposed to be built. So, Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, Mayor McEwen brought up a point, which I was considering before, but I kind of left it. The boundary that this is going up against is defined as the rear lot line for that house. Is it the side lot line for the neighboring house?
it looks like it could be, correct?
And isn't the setback on the side lot line 2 meters? 3. Okay, so not to split hairs, if you can do it on one side of the line and not on the other, something's always a little odd to me. So, okay, thank you for that.
Okay, good. Okay, I'll call the question for it to move forward to notification. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. Move on to 9C, Anmore Nose Bylaw Review. Report dated October 3rd, 2025 from our bylaw enforcement officers attached. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. So some time ago, staff had brought forward a report related to some concerns on construction noise that was occurring as a result of blasting and drilling. So some assessment was done on how other municipalities are regulating that type of noise. And there are some municipalities that are regulating what would be described as continuous noise. However, upon further review of other municipalities, we have not found an instance where that is regulated for construction activities. So this report is just before council this evening to identify that, and further to identify one small more housekeeping issue related to the noise bylaw is that it has not been updated for some time, and we are missing the statutory holiday of National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. So staff would recommend that we come forward with an update to add that date, because we're often get questions from the public related to specific dates. So the recommendation this evening would be that staff be directed to report back to council with bylaw amendments to include recommendations outlined in the report dated October 3rd from the bylaw enforcement officer.
Okay, someone to move that? Moved and seconded. Any discussions? I had a couple questions. This was brought forward, I propose this because after the blasting that we were experiencing on Oak Court, and it went on for an extended period of time. So at the time, the neighbors were very upset and concerned about it. And anyway, I did some research on my own regarding the blasting bylaw. So West Vancouver has a fairly significant blasting bylaw because they have similar topography, and I think we're going to be facing that in the future as we move forward. It puts limits on the amount of blasting that's allowed to go on a property depending on the size. So anything above rock volume limits based on lot size, 400 meters squared for small lots, 600 meters for larger lots. It also provides advance notice to nearby schools, hospitals, which you don't have any, and all neighboring houses within 300 meters, which I think we need to start doing advance notice because a lot of the people weren't aware of what was going to be going on there. It also, you have to comply with strict vibration limits, not to exceed 50 millimeters per second, and having blasting conducted under the supervision of a certified person, as well as noise for that blasting to be going on for limited reaches during the day. So I think that I certainly agree with the purpose of this, but I think that we need to do some more research in regards to this because this is very much specific to the blasting and also the rock crushing that was going on to that property. And it wasn't that it just went on for a week, it went on for several weeks because they kept on, I guess there was more and more blasting that had to go on, and I remember receiving several complaints from people in regards to it. So the bylaw that West Vancouver has is number 5130-2021, and I would strongly suggest that we maybe could mirror that a little bit to be able to bring into terms regarding what our blasting, what we need to adhere to with the blasting, especially with the challenge of some of the new lots that are going to be developed in the village.
So through the chair, just for clarification, would council wish for staff to, we currently don't regulate blasting at all. This was related to our noise bylaw. So is council interested in investigating staff bringing forward a blasting bylaw for council's consideration?
I thought that that's what the purpose was of this, to
Okay.
bring up because of the challenges that we had. Any other comments from council or?
May I get a motion for the blasting bylaw?
Sure. It says here about the noise and that. That's amendments to include outlined in the report from the bylaw enforcement officer, and it was about blasting. So I thought the whole premise of this was on a blasting and noise.
So through the chair, the report back was related to the direction from council related to the noise bylaw, and that was to regarding amendments to the noise bylaw regarding construction, blasting, and drilling. So we could certainly bring forward a report back to council regarding blasting and drilling. The update to the bylaw that staff was recommending was just related to the additional statutory holiday.
Okay, yeah, certainly the statutory holiday, because I was looking at our bylaw 517-2011, and that was from 2011, so it certainly needs to be updated, and I think some referencing blasting, which is what I'd hoped that this was part of. So can I get a motion then from, I'll put a motion forward that, that the noise bylaw, that we look at a blasting bylaw for the village?
I'm
Is
so
that-
sorry, can you please repeat that?
If, could I put a motion forward that the village look in regards to it, to bringing forth a bylaw that would monitor and regulate blasting within the village? Okay, someone's seconded, okay?
So hang on, are we voting on the point of order first one, and we're now have a second one, or we amended the first one
Yeah,
with the second one?
We should do the first one, which is just simply to add the Truth and Reconciliation Day to the,
We can amend the motion on the floor.
okay?
Let's do that.
Then we will have to vote on the amendment first and then vote on the main motion.
Okay, so what is the amendment?
The amendment is what you just
Okay.
referred to?
Establishing a blasting
Yes.
bylaw. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We haven't
Once we vote on the amendment, then we vote on the entirety of the main motion. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the amended motion? Carried unanimously. So now, we're good, Essen? Okay. We'll now move on to 9D, the bylaw notice enforcement bylaw, building fines. Report dated October 3rd from our bylaw officer is attached. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. So this is brought forward for council's consideration as currently we do not have any fines in our bylaw, notice enforcement bylaw related to our building bylaw. So this is, as you can imagine, causing challenges to staff when there are infractions occurring related to the building bylaw. Other than stop work orders, we don't really have any punitive measures in place at this time. So on pages 54 and 55 of the report, staff has gone through each item as it relates to our building bylaw and applied a fine amount and suggest that we include that in the bylaw. These fine amounts have been reviewed and are generally consistent with neighboring communities. Good. So the recommendation would be that staff be directed to report back to council with bylaw amendments to include recommendations outlined in the report dated October 2nd from the bylaw enforcement officer.
Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded, open up for discussion. Councilor Weber.
Some of these, say 6.4, tamper with any notice. I think I would up the fine on that. I mean, if you're tampering with a notice, that's pretty blatant to me. Really getting in the way of our bylaw process. Obstruction of an inspection. Like, why would anybody do that? I mean, that should be an easy one. Don't do that. That could be a bigger fine. Other than that, I think I'm fine with everything.
Okay. Councilor Richardson.
Yeah, I'm with Councillor Weverink on some of these. The fine only works if, it stops you from doing something because it's more expensive than what you're doing anyway. Like, fail to contain the spread or damage discarded materials. If it costs you $2,000 to haul it away and you can risk having a fine for $150, you're going to risk the fine for $150. The fines have to be, to me, a size that is better to do the thing you want rather than to avoid it. So I think these are pretty small. Like, if you're building a $5 million house, failure to stop a work order for $500, Like, who cares that you're spending 30 grand a day or some crazy amount of money? You're going to just keep on going. It's got to be oomphy enough to make you actually comply. And I think a lot of these don't. I understand that, it's probably what other municipalities do, but that's kind of my gut feel on it. I think you need more whip and less carrot or something. Thanks.
I think this is a good first step. Councillor Cryer? No? Okay, yeah, I think it's good work that's been gone into this, and while they may not be as punitive as some want, I think it actually gets people's attention. It actually offers some sort of cost recovery as well. So, no, nothing further, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Mayor's report. We're on to 13. Couple things. Attended with Councillor Weberink and Councillor Cryer the UBCM this last week. I was there with my role at Metro Vancouver, but we did have 2 meetings that were referenced through Anmore. One was with the Minister of Environment, and we just simply asked them about septic notices of non-compliance, the Ministry of Environment, and they said that there is a web page. I said it would be great if we were notified when these notices went out, especially into the media, and that. So they've got a web page that they post all of them on, and I think, Ms. Elric, you know what it is, or did
Through the chair, it is a very specific website, is how
Okay.
I would describe it. And it is quite challenging unless you know exactly what you are searching and looking for
Okay.
to find anything. So I would encourage folks to contact the ministry directly if they are looking for information
Yeah.
and cannot find it.
Yeah, there is a public website. It has all, Mr. Boyd was there as well. They have all the compliance issues. There's like 90 of them are now for, I think, Countryside and a few others and stuff like that. It lists them all out in action, but we asked if they could at least alert us to it because, again, we had no idea. I know some people thought that there was some sort of conspiracy theory that we had something to know about, but we didn't. So anyway, that was that. We also had a meeting with BC Hydro and Bunsen Lake regarding the ways to continue with the parking and increasing the visitorship. I get a lot of people reach out to me and concerns about when they do get into the, during the summer months, the busy months, the parking lot is half full. We talked a lot about different ways of being able to incorporate more people coming and going. They said that they were going to look at things. There were some suggestions of maybe a lot of people showing up that make reservations and how to secure those people with maybe a deposit. But they're working at it, and like I said, really good. Having the lifeguards up there as well. There's been no incidents over the last couple of years, which has been great. There was a couple tragedies there, so having the lifeguards there has been great, and they're good partners. They're really wanting. I found they were really receptive to any input we had on that, and also how it's working at reducing some of the traffic chaos that we were experiencing before the reservation system was in place. They also are possibly looking at paid parking as well, because all the other Bunsen Lake or Belcarre Regional Park as well as Sassmat now are all charging parking as well. Yesterday I did a tour of the water services tour up at Seymour River facility. They have a big filtration plant up there. We toured the dam, and then we also toured the underground pipes that have gone through from the North Shore to Burnaby. They did drilling a hole 6 meters, and then they put 3 pipes in there. So we have 3 water pipes that go through there, 2 from Seymour at 3 meters each. These pipes are huge. Like, it's unbelievable the amount of engineering that goes into them. They go under the ground. They're down 100 meters on the Burnaby side, 30 meters on the North Shore side, and that gives us redundancy in case they are put in and engineered to a 10,000-year event, which is a 9.9 earthquake, to be resilient. And then they did this big, huge 6-meter tunnel that these are in, and then they grout them with concrete, and it was very, very impressive. I was pretty cool, the amount of stuff that goes on. On some bad news, Halloween this year, the fireworks are going to be canceled. They're not going to happen. it's really sad. I took over from Ron Dunn when I got on council in, I think, 2007. He did it with me, and then I took it over. I've done it every year with a good friend of mine, Mark Obaninski, and Paul. Paul came out in later years, and so did Councillor Trowbridge, and others have helped out. But Mark is no longer living in the village. We relied on him as well with his certification and his ability to get the fireworks at a reduced price, so that we were able to keep it within budget. But he is no longer in the village, and he's busy. But I personally want to thank him for the years that we spent on Halloween lighting these things off. It is literally chaos for 20 minutes, and I'll tell you, it's not a lot of fun. It's really something. But I'll tell you, it's been a big event in this village in regards to, it gave everybody a place to go at 8 o'clock to come here and that. But it will not be happening this year, unfortunately. So I just wanted to pass that on, and then want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving that's coming up this weekend. So pass on to councillor reports. Councillor Cryer.
Thank you. As Mayor McEwen mentioned, we were at UBCM, attended the meetings. Upcoming is the Tri-Cities Ministerial Prayer Breakfast. I'll be representing both Anmore and Belcarra. And also coming up, mingle with Mayor Stewart, a little Q&A with him, and Scouts Bottle Drive is October 18th.
Yep.
That's it.
Good. Councillor Wevering.
Yeah, just to reiterate, UBCM was very productive for me, meeting with the MOE. And I think the point we made is that this website is hard to navigate. We can't just be on this website all the time. They've got to let us know when something's happening. And I think we might be squeezing a little bit more money out of BC Hydro, it sounds like, for the fire department.
We're going to try.
Went to a very interesting lecture regarding, I think Councillor Creer was there as well. I don't know if you guys heard in the news, but recently title to a large part of Richmond municipal land was granted to the Cowichan First Nation. So it was a very well-attended lecture because, of course, people are concerned, well, could their private land be granted? Well, they gave us the whole story. It was a really interesting story, and it started with Colonel Moody back in the 1860s, basically stealing the land from the indigenous tribe at the time, and then basically at some point, whoever it was sold to didn't pay the taxes. So it became part of Richmond municipal land, and it was sort of a landmark case, and that was one of the reasons. So there was a lot of things that I don't think you'd see happen anywhere else, and that particular band was not after any private land. So there was a lot of conjecture and speculation about what was really going on there. So I think everybody walked out of there feeling a little bit better. Great talk about Harrison Hot Springs challenges. Their whole most of their staff quit due to a very dysfunctional council. It sounded like it was just awful, and how those councillors that managed to last, and the CAO lasted. And then after that, I had lunch with that councillor and the CAO and got a little bit more input. And it was just, it sounded like it was a very difficult mayor, and just a lot of disagreement on council. So it can happen. It's why we have a lot of respect for each other at this table, whether we agree or we disagree. It's very important that we all get along and be respectful. Really good speech by past president, UBCM President Trish Mandeo. Very inspirational speaker. I did meet with Belcarra Mayor and Council. We have this constant, on the fire trustees, this constant discussion about the split of costs for our fire department. I kind of got them in a social situation and sort of laid it out that they've given us a lot of options, all of which would make it a lot cheaper for us to run our own fire department, which we don't want to do, but it'd be a pretty hard sell to taxpayers to say, well, we can have two fire departments. One's more expensive and one's less expensive. Which one would you want? They'll both be equally as good. So I don't know if it's getting through to them, but we got to get this resolved quickly. Had lunch with the mayor of Squamish and discussed how they do trail development in Squamish. They're quite the outdoor community. It's a mountain biking destination. It's a big part of their economy. It doesn't really apply in Anmore because we don't really have any commercial businesses. But they're dealing with a lot of municipal land, private land, government land, and they want to fund the trails, and they have funded the trails, and I found out that they mostly do it through the local trail organization. So we're in a similar situation here. We've tried to kind of partner with Torca to ensure that, you know, that we do have trails that connect to Anmore. And, you know, we'd like to see more of that as the community develops and get those trails worked into developments. I think that's why people move up here. I spent lots of time with fellow Port Moody councillors. It's great to get to know them a little bit better, and many discussions around Bill 44 and how communities are fighting back to challenges being created. So one of the big things, it doesn't seem to affect us too much, is their infrastructure. So they've got areas that didn't appear in their OCP for a lot of development, and now they're faced with having to turn, you know, one house into 6. Well, how do you deal with all the services and the roads? The government hasn't really come up with a solution. So there is a lot of kickback. And that's about it for UBCM. And then I wanted to talk about our procedures and how they related to Bill 44. I know when we went through the whole Anmore South, this community became very divided. And I think part of our responsibility in that is listening to our lawyers and limiting public input at our meetings. I think that's the takeaway for me. I didn't like that. It was not a good time. It was not a good time in any of our lives. And it was not a good time for our community. And I can't change when developers put proposals on tables. I'm duty bound to look at them. We have to look at them. But what I do want to do is put a motion before council that council review the procedure bylaw with regards to public input at council meetings as it relates to development proposals, particularly when OCP doesn't align. Is that captured, Essen?
Absolutely. I just need a seconder, and the motion is not debatable at this time. Just for the procedural clarity, it's going to come to the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Okay. Okay, do we open it up for discussion? Or?
No, it goes to the next council meeting.
Goes to the next council. Perfect. And the only other thing is I had a very good Environment Committee meeting, very productive, mostly talking about the hillside development. Some good recommendations. I think these developers will be able to work with, and hopefully we find something that everybody can agree on. And that's it.
Anything else? No? Okay. Move on to our Chief Administrative Officer's report. Ms. Elright.
Thank you. So just wanted to remind everybody that it's that time of year for utility bill notices, and due to the current postal strike, we of course will not be able to mail those notices. They will be being processed and ready within the next week or so, so please check all of the village communication tactics. We'll be posting on the notice board. We'll be using Facebook, our email distribution, all of those things to let people know how they can access their bill and get that amount due. So please watch for that. Additionally, we have been, as staff, doing some work on some of the items that remain on the list, as it may be, for the hub building, and one of those items that we are currently working on is sound improvements, and we do have our AV technician remoting in this evening to make sure that all the sound is working as it should be, and it sounds good to me from where I am tonight, but we'll get a report back on that. And we've also met with some acoustic specialists in terms of introducing some acoustic improvements to the area that will help with the sound as well. Thank you.
Good. Just in regards to, just some clarity in regards to the notices, is the premise then that people will have to come to the village hall to pick them up, or will they be able to get them online, or?
Through the chair, we don't have a solution at this point for them to be able to access online. But certainly we will outline the different ways, whether it be coming in person or phoning in, we'll outline all of the ways that folks can get their bills.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we should, when will they be due? Is it the end of November?
They're due 30 days from when the notice goes out. So we're expecting those notices in the next week. So yes, we'll put us mid-ish November, but we'll certainly communicate that date as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's important we don't know how long this mail strike is going to go on, so. Okay, some information items, general correspondence from the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs from the Mayor of West Vancouver, correspondence from Youth Parliament, correspondence from the Ministry of Children and Family Development regarding Foster Family Month. Public question period. Public is permitted to ask questions of council regarding pertaining village business. Two-minute time limit applies to speakers. Anybody want to come up? Okay, motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.